trend in Singapore, right? And people are just getting pissed about it.
Yeah.
Why are all these guys giving the same story of rags to riches and whatever else?
What is the biggest killer of dreams? Your comfort zone. The biggest killer of your dreams is just knowing that, oh, you've got a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and everything just feels comfortable. Oh yeah, I'm gonna learn this new strategy, and then, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next week. You know, these people are not broke. 2 or 3 years ago, he had an offer to buy his company for 72 million. But crypto's just halved in value. Yes, that's the perfect time to buy. Why didn't anyone tell me that before?
Tell me more about leverage knowledge.
In Hollywood, that's called triple threat. Anyone now can start an account with no followers and still get millions of views. You gotta get in right at the start, before when they're building the community.
Hey guys, welcome to our Modern Wealth podcast where we aim to empower, evolve, and enrich your lives. Today we've got an absolutely amazing guest, someone who I've known for many years, right? He's an investor, an entrepreneur, a speaker, a guy who has impacted thousands upon thousands of lives. You know, I've worked with him before, and he's an absolute social media genius as well. And today we have none other than John Lee himself in the house, right? So I'm really glad he's here. Again, right, John, just some context, he, he's not Singaporean, right? He's come down on a trip to actually do a class, which I'm attending the next 2 days, yes. Right? And he's very gladly, said okay to being here in the office as well. So again, thank you so much, John, for joining us.
Yeah, brother, thanks for having me, man.
Dude, let's get right into it, right? Currently, right now in Singapore, we have elections going on. Okay, just some context, right?
Yes.
And people are getting upset. Why? Because many of these guys who are getting elected are using the story of and sharing the story of, I grew up from very humble backgrounds. My dad was a taxi driver, and for some reason people are just getting like, this is the current trend in Singapore, right? And people are just getting pissed about it.
Yeah.
Like why are all these guys giving the same story of rags to riches and whatever else, right? And but yeah, I think there's a lot of power, right, coming from very humble beginnings. Right. And actually, your story is very similar as well. You come from very humble beginnings. You were, an immigrant who went to the UK, right? And, you started your life without having a lot, right? To making millions of dollars, right? And so the question very simply is this, sorry, I'm going one round, but very simply, I'm also reading this book by Damon John. And this book is absolutely incredible. And the book's title is The Power of Broke.
Yes.
Right? The Power of Broke. What's your interpretation of that, right? Do you think there's power in being broke?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what is the biggest killer of dreams? Your comfort zone. The biggest killer of your dreams is just knowing that, oh, you've got a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and everything just feels comfortable, right? Now, comfort's a beautiful thing, but nothing ever grows there. So a part of, when we say broke, you've got to be in a place where you have now motivated. You see, why do people take action? Because they're either desperate or they feel inspired to do something, right? So you've got to make sure that, because if you're in the middle, then it doesn't work. You're like, how many friends have you got? Oh yeah, I'm gonna learn this new strategy, and then, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next week. And these people are not broke. So when I look at over the last 20 years of the thousands and thousands of people who I've taught and trained, the people that become the most successful are the ones that almost start with nothing. If I have a good case study of someone who I trained here in Singapore, this guy was on the brink of bankruptcy. Wow. His wife brought him to one of my keynotes, heard me speak, and said, you know what, maybe I should take action on this. And then, 2 or 3 years ago, he had an offer to buy his company for 72 million.
Wow.
This is someone who was literally that close to going bankrupt.
Wow. Crazy. What's your story behind, what's your own personal testimony of the power of broke?
Well, for me, I've been in a lot of places, and I don't come from money. That's not. I wasn't born into a rich family. My parents worked in a Chinese takeaway. I worked as a dishwasher, but we were never really broke, but we didn't have, I couldn't go out. Remember the time I would go to my PE lessons and see all my friends with all the latest Nike and Reebok, and one of my friends, Simon, he had this beautiful, and I don't know if you remember the Reebok Hexalite graphite shoes.
Okay.
Do you remember them?
No,
The
I
one with the
don't.
big gap in the middle.
Okay.
Funnily enough, the
gap in the shoe in the
yeah,
bottom.
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I do.
Funnily
for sure,
enough,
for
just
sure.
as an aside, Joe, who's the owner of Reebok,
Yeah.
we're now friends.
Oh, wow.
So maybe I'll ask him for a pair. But the point is that I remember seeing that he had the shoes. I saved up all the money I had, went out, bought these trainers, so I could wear them, so I could be cool. Only to find out that, you know, back then I didn't really have any money. So I took them out, got a refund. Right? And, you know, so many times where you want to earn money, like broke, I've never been to a point where I just, you know, you're not able to feed yourself. And I think getting to that point is also having the mindset to never be in that position. You know, it's, you know, have there been times where I've done business and, you know, worried about, shit, how am I going to make payroll next week, right? Or next month? I mean, there's been plenty of those times.
Yep.
But your mind gets you out of it, right? You find out ways to overcome it. And, you know, one of the slogans in our company is we do whatever it takes.
Do whatever it takes.
We do whatever it takes.
Beautiful.
Right? And, you know, if you look at a lot of people that work for my organization and we work together, like we go all out. Like if something goes wrong, we want to support each other. When we are working together, we work as a team, as one. We don't work separate, you know, and sometimes there's a bit of that, but as a collective, you want to, like, how you get out of that stuff is really three things. Who you know, what you know, and what you're going to execute now.
Yeah.
When you do these three things, you get yourself out of anything.
Wow. What you do right now, huh?
Right?
The
You do
actions.
right now.
Yep.
As people go, oh, I don't know what to do in the future. Like, it's not a, like, people are living in the future. We don't want to live in the future. We want to live in the now, in the present. So what can I do within my power right now? Right? So if you're in a situation, can you make a phone call? Right? If you're in a situation, who can you see? Right? If you've got something that's going chaotic, okay, what can I do right now to solve that problem? And so when we get into that issue, we find ways out of it because our brain thinks about different ways to get out of it. And when you can do that, suddenly all the solutions come to you.
Absolutely.
Because when you're in that state, you're in a different frequency.
Yep.
And that frequency causes you to not attract. I don't know if you believe in spirituality and
Believe
manifesting
in
and things
God.
like
Yeah.
Right. So when we have the divine will,
Yep.
right? When we have things that are supposed to happen,
Yep.
and they're meant to happen, and somehow you know they're supposed to happen,
Yep.
but you don't know how it's going to happen.
Yep. Yep.
That's the faith that we have.
Absolutely.
We got to have faith in that, trusting the process.
Absolutely.
And so when shit like that happens, how do we get out of that?
Yep.
And part of that is trusting the process, but you got to do it now.
Beautiful. Dude, thanks for that, man. You know, I think a lot of people find it very, very useful. But it's so true, right? You know, sometimes, you know, I talk about the power of being put in the corner, right, against the wall. When you have no choice, right, but to do something, right? And again, many people don't move in their lives because they're not in that spot, right? And again, comes back down to the danger of being in your comfort zone and just being comfortable, right?
Well, think about this, right? Let's say you are on a shipwreck, right? And you have one dinghy left.
Yep.
And there's an island, right? And but it's just within reach.
Yep.
How do you guarantee that you're going to get there? So in Chinese, we say, we break the boat.
Okay. Wow.
So we smash the boat.
Wow.
So now we're in the ocean.
Yep.
And if we don't swim,
Yep.
we're going to drown.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's almost a guarantee. But and sometimes you got to do things like, okay, I'll give an example. People think about debt being a bad thing, but
Yep.
debt's a really good motivator. When you put yourself into a situation where you don't know how you're going to afford to pay for something, magically what happens? Money comes.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is where we talk about the concept of the cup is empty, but it's for most people it's full. And if it's full, the universe will not refill that cup. So actually what you should do with your money is get rid of it. Right?
Okay.
Because if you can't get rid of it, like if I don't drink this water, I can't refill it.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And you got to, for example, I was just in Rome and I don't know if have you been to Italy?
Yeah, I've been to
Yeah,
Italy,
so
to
you
Rome
got
as well.
those fountains where
Yep.
you can just go and fill your bottle up and
Yes,
things
yes,
like that.
yes.
It's like, and the water's like amazing.
Yep.
Like, it's like that. These fountains of wealth are everywhere,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
I mean, I use it as an analogy in
Yep.
Italy, but they're everywhere. But it's just people don't see them. They don't spot them. They don't know they exist. And until we can empty it, we don't get more of it. And that's why people stay stagnant. Because what they're trying to do, they're trying to hold on to that money to go, oh, this is the last money we have.
Yep.
And they don't get more of it.
Yep.
The moment you deplete it, guess what? More comes.
Interesting. What is risk to you?
Risk is understanding all the things that could possibly go wrong, that will go wrong, that should go wrong, and might and almost will go wrong, and knowing how to counter that.
Okay.
People say to me, John, isn't the thing that you're doing now, isn't it really risky? I said, no. Well, what if, I'll give an example. One of the first real estate deals I bought,
Yep.
right? Friend said to me, John, well, what if you buy it and no one rents it?
Yeah,
Which can happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which can and does happen. And I said to him, well, what if I buy it and I do rent it?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's always two sides of things. So then when I look at what risk is nothing more than just calculated risk. Right? Crypto, a lot of people say to me, oh, crypto is really risky. So I invested in a company called Kraken. I don't know if you know Kraken.
Kraken, of course.
They're a trading app,
Yeah.
right? So my friend, I didn't know anything about crypto.
Yep.
Right? And my friend, they got, big VC, and she started investing all these. She got into Solana at like 11 cents.
Wow.
Right? So she made 100 million like that.
Yeah.
And I said, Tess, you need to tell me this stuff and how this stuff works. And so, she's in Silicon Valley, and we became good friends, and
Yep.
now I'm a venture partner in a company.
Okay.
So I get to know all the early things that come in way
beautiful.
before they happen.
Okay.
So when people say to me, is crypto risky? Yes, if you don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
Right? And there's different seasons. For example, now is not a great season, but it's great to get in. Right? But a lot of people go, well, but crypto's just halved in value. Yes, that's the perfect time to buy. You see what I mean?
Absolutely.
Right? But people don't get it because they haven't been educated. Right? They, you look at things like a pump.fun. Is it risky? Of course it is. Right? Because, all these TGEs go like
yeah,
this.
exactly. Absolutely.
Right? But one of my other students, Shankar, he put 30,000 into something. He sent me a screen grab. I'll show you later. It went to like 7 million.
Wow.
Right? Is that risky? No, because he knew what he was doing.
Yep.
He knew the circles. He knew the Telegram channels to get into.
Yeah.
He knew the network to be part of. He knew the context. It's not who you know, but it's who knows you.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very important, man. And it's exactly what I always share, right? So it's like, wow, dude, incredible. Let's go back to your very first pot of gold. So I understand you made money through real estate, and that's what you built your first pot of wealth on, right?
Yes.
So how was that? How do you start your 20s with real estate?
So actually, one of my mentors, his name was Ying Tan.
Okay.
Right? One of my first mentors.
Yep.
And I had to pay him 15,000. Sorry, I sold my car for 15,000. I got 15,000. I paid him 10,000 for 2 days of his time.
Wow.
So people thought it was crazy. Like, why are this guy scamming you? Like, why are you paying so much money? Like, who charges that much money?
Yeah.
And what they didn't realize is they have a specific way of doing things.
Okay.
They knew how to buy property,
Yep.
refinance, take the money back out and buy another one. So your funds became unlimited.
Okay.
And I thought, that sounds a bit
Dodgy.
dodgy.
Yeah.
But sure enough,
Yep.
it was a loophole in the system. Right? And it took them 3 years to close that loophole down. In which case, when I started acquiring all these properties, by the time I'd made my pot of gold, they stopped it afterwards. So no one else could come in and do it.
Okay.
I mean, there's still a variation of that.
Yep.
But you just have to wait a little bit longer.
I see.
But what I realized is that there's a difference between knowledge and specialized knowledge. Right? Knowledge is, you go to school, you learn things.
Yep.
Specialized knowledge, when you sit down and say, if you do something in a certain way, you get a dramatic different result.
Yep.
Like, for example, I never knew you could buy companies without using money. Right? I never knew about overrides. I never knew that you could walk up to a company and say, your company makes $1 million, I'll buy it for 10 million, and for the next 10 years, I'll give you, $1 million of your money to be able to buy your company using the cash flow. I'm like, why didn't anyone tell me that before?
Wow.
Right? So there's these things that people do that they don't teach in school.
Interesting. Wow. Specialized knowledge.
Specialized knowledge.
Beautiful.
And leverage knowledge.
Specialized and leverage knowledge.
Yes.
Tell me more about leverage knowledge.
So leverage knowledge is knowing what compounds with one thing, right? So for example, if you look at your skill sets, there's a certain things that you do that you're very good at, and there's things that you do that
you're not so good at.
Yep. So what happens is if you have one skill and you leverage that with another skill, it compounds. Just like compound interest.
Yes.
For example, let's say I'm a dancer.
Yep.
But I can sing at the same time. It's leverage. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's say I can sing and I can act. And I can dance.
Yeah.
That's in Hollywood, that's called triple threat.
Yeah.
When someone's triple threat, they can do anything.
Yep.
Right? So it's the same with entrepreneurship. What if you can market and you can sell?
That's ultimate, right?
Right? And then what if you can combine that with artificial intelligence?
Wow.
And what if you're a very good communicator? And what if you know how to use social media?
Wow.
You see?
That sounds like you.
Well, I mean, I acquire a lot of these skills,
Yeah,
right? But I'm still learning. I
Yes,
mean, you
yes.
know, it's you never know everything. But leverage knowledge is where one thing affects the other thing, right? So, for example, if I'm good at playing badminton, or if I'm good at playing tennis, could I then be good? Can I transfer that skill onto paddle? Right? So I always think about this stuff. And, you know, lately I've been investing a lot into AI. A lot of companies I invest in, I would say probably 80% of my portfolio now is in AI
I see.
and Web3 and blockchain.
Yep.
Right? Doesn't mean I know everything about it,
Wow.
but why do I invest? Because I want to know what's coming.
Interesting.
Like, do I want these companies to? Of course I do. Right?
You know, I want to get right into it, right? So again, you know, you made first spot of gold through old money, right? Like real estate, right? But today you're talking a lot about new money, right?
Yes.
New money, like how I see a lot of people who are always stuck in, you know, hey, I just want to, and nothing wrong with it, right? But you've obviously seen this massive opportunity with how the world is currently moving, right? And why is that important? And what has it done to your wealth?
So I just got back from Rome.
Yep.
And I visited Positano, which is beautiful, by the way.
Yes.
And then I went to Venice.
Yep.
So in Venice, they have these museums. And I was looking at a picture and I thought, wow, this is an incredible picture. I don't know, for something, it just caught my attention. The painting was by Pablo Picasso. I'm
Picasso,
sure everyone
for
knows
sure,
that, right?
for
So I
sure.
looked at it, and we have these ear things that we wear to give us, what the painting is about. Very abstract. And then at the end, it had Pablo Picasso's thoughts as he was painting that. You know what he said? And I must have listened to this probably 50 times.
Okay.
Right? Over and over and over again. His message was, when I paint a painting, it's never finished. Even when it's finished, the person, as I'm painting, it evolves because the thoughts change and evolve. And even when the painting is now on the wall, it still changes depending on who's observing it. I'm like, oh my God. What that really means is evolution, right? If you don't adapt, you die. Do you know how many people come to me now and say, oh, John, you know that social media thing you were talking about 10 years ago? Can you show me, like, you've missed the boat.
Yep.
Well, you haven't missed the boat. I mean, there's still new ways to get into this, but the rules change. And it's knowing what the rules are. Like, for example, you want to know, like, anyone now can start an account with no followers and still get millions of views. Because now it's not based on followers, it's based on your topics and your demographics and the content you're putting out, watch time.
Yep.
But you need to understand the rules first. If you don't understand the rules, how are you going to play the game? And so the rules change almost every other month. And so you've always got to stay on top of it. And what I realized was is that when you have the edge, you beat everybody else.
I see.
Right? There's a saying I always say is that do what others don't, have a tomorrow that others won't.
Absolutely.
So if you do that, if I'm willing to go out and learn things and I put them into practice, and I do it now, especially now with the AI, it's new. Everyone's starting at the same place.
Yep.
But what's happening is the knowledge gap's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be for you to execute.
Absolutely.
Can people still do social now? Of course they can.
Yep.
Right? But it's just a lot harder than it used to be back then.
Yep.
So I'd rather go at the start where I have an advantage as opposed to getting late. It's like when a TG is already happening, everyone goes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That's
Too late.
Absolutely.
Right? You got to get in right at the start before when they're building the community. That's when you want to get in.
What are some of the companies you're investing in? Like, if you can tell me about, like, some of the portfolio companies, these AI companies you're investing in.
So, incredible one that we just invested in is called ScoreApp.
Okay.
ScoreApp can basically give any business a specific avatar of a client that is almost 100% matched to your services. So imagine right now, in your business, you have so many people, but everyone's at different levels, right?
Of course, yes.
Okay, let's say crypto, for example, right? People don't even know how to do a MetaMask.
Absolutely.
And then you've got people that have got like DeFi running in the background and they're sniping and they've got degens. Like, it's worlds apart. So how do you know where to meet people? So imagine right now you can answer a few questions and at the end of it, it offers you the exact same product as the thing that you have basically answered. So basically it's a glove that is made for you. By the end of it, it fits your hand perfectly.
Wow.
Imagine what your conversion rate is going to be,
Wow, that'll be incredible, right?
right?
Yep.
So you've got things like that, right? So that's an incredible one. Salesfunnels.io, we launched a software company. And basically, I can put all my knowledge into one place.
Okay.
And basically ask any question.
Yep.
Right? And it'll be able to basically be my assistant. So I can literally say, hey, Nova stands for Next Generation Optimized Virtual Assistant.
Okay.
Right? So I can ask it any question, and it will be able to pull information, and it's now going to be able to tell you exactly what you want to. So it takes up the thinking process and now reintegrates your creative process.
Wow.
So now execution is now being handled by AI.
Yep.
So before we had to learn something and execute it, right? Now what do? We don't execute. We let AI execute and we prompt it. So all our content now is produced by AI.
Wow, that's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Dude, how, guys, just to share, right? I'm attending John Lee's Business Accelerator program tomorrow, right, in Singapore. By the time this is published, it's probably over. But the next time he's around in town, make sure you attend his program, right? Again, I think, for me, I just feel this is moving at exponential speed, right? And it's very important for me to tap into experts and to learn what they already know so that I can move myself forward as well, right? So that's the reason why I'm attending the programs. I really believe in investing myself, and John's a guy who's incredible, right? Always keeping himself like above everybody else to make sure that he has the edge, right, in what he does, right? So again, John, like today in your businesses, what is the main thing that you do, and where is majority of the revenue being generated?
Have you heard of Shark Tank or Dragon's Den?
Yes, of course.
I basically do that.
Okay.
But instead of me giving people money,
Okay.
they give me money.
They give you money.
Correct.
Tell me more.
Okay. So how did I figure this out, right?
Okay.
Do you know how many people come up to me and say, "Oh, John, like, can I take you for coffee? I want to pick your brains."
Yep.
So we go for coffee. We have a nice coffee, and I'm there for like 3 hours.
Yep.
Right? 3 hours of my time gone. I'll never get back. I don't know my nuts. I want to help people.
Yep.
But the problem comes where I see that person 6 months later say, "Hey, bro,
Yeah.
like, did you do it?" "Oh, yeah, I'm still thinking about it." Like, what I realized, and this is the first lesson I learned from my mentor. He said, "John, write the word learn down." So I went Learn. Okay, learn. I get it when I learn. Okay, cross out the L. Cross out the L. What does it spell? Oh my God, it spells earn. So why are you telling me that, Richard? You must learn before you earn. So then the question is, why don't people do things? You know why? It's like when someone says to me, "Oh, John, I want you to invest in my company." Okay, I'll put $1 million. How much are you going to put in? Nothing. So you have no skin in the game. And there's a lesson that says when people pay, they pay attention. By the way, I've tested this. I've tested all the people who I basically give my consulting to for free. Percentage is very small that succeed.
Okay.
The ones that pay, this percentage is like 20 times higher than the free.
Okay.
Why? Because they got skin in the game.
Absolutely.
So, and people say, "Well, John, why would people do that?" Because sometimes when people come to me, they don't. You see, people assume that when people have a business idea, they just need money. That's called dumb money, right? In Silicon Valley, we call it dumb money. Dumb money is, there's the money. What else? That's it. It's nothing else. What you actually want is smart money. So smart money is, okay, here's some money, and I'll introduce you to this person. I'll reorganize your management team.
Yep.
We're going to get all these VCs on board. We'll fix your deck. We'll get all this done. So we build a community around that.
Yep.
And so we're adding extra value.
Yes.
Right? And do you know why a lot of people go on boards in the first place?
Tell me.
It's because when you're a part of a board,
Yep.
you know other people on those boards are connected to other companies.
I see.
Right? So it was my friend, Wayne Boss, is a billionaire.
Yep.
He said to me, I was at his penthouse in Dubai, overlooking the park.
Beautiful.
Like beautiful. I mean, you can imagine the view. And I said, Wayne, if you were me, what would you do? Like, you know everything about what would you do? He said, "Well, John, I see you traveling the world and, you're making this impact. And how much do you get paid for speaking?" I said, 100,000 per keynote. I said, "It's not bad." Right? I said, "Yeah, it's like an hour. It's not bad."
Yep.
And he said, "Well, but you're losing a lot of money." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Every time you're in front of like 2,000 or 3,000 people, there are unicorns in the audience."
Yep.
Right? And when they see you on stage, they want to do business with you, right? So you're in a position now where instead of you having to go and knock on other people's doors, everybody's now wants to knock on your door.
Yep.
And I thought, oh my God, you're absolutely right.
Yep.
So then I started thinking about what I did with the guy who I told you was in Singapore. His
Yep.
name's Mark Ling. It's incredible. Like, I mean, we just literally were in my suite yesterday till 2 a.m. masterminding ideas.
Nice.
We just finished a meeting. We finished an event, had another event. Then I was like, okay, let's do a meeting till 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And so, but when I look at what he's been able to achieve, and now how many times his business has evolved, it went from a juicing shop to selling blenders for juicing to now health tech to now going into longevity.
Wow.
His business has evolved 4 times.
Wow.
Right? Imagine if he just did juicing.
Yep.
Right? Now, soon over Singapore, you're going to see his company where they're kind of these longevity clinics where you can go in and you can, you know, get your skin,
everything,
hair, and all that stuff done. But it's proper health. Like, how do you live longer? It's incredible. So the key to this is to always stay on top and always evolve. If you don't evolve, you die.
You don't evolve, you die.
Right?
Absolutely.
So new money, old money, whatever it is, like you got to stay on top of what's happening.
Absolutely.
Like, for example, no one's really even talking about tokenomics. I know you know about tokenomics because you're in the game.
Yep.
Right? Everything soon will be fiatless. When's the last time you bought a wallet?
I don't even remember.
Right. Where's your wallet? It's on your phone. And in fact, when you were enrolling to the program, you said, John, I'll pay you. You didn't even pay in fiat.
Yeah.
You paid in digital, right?
Yeah.
That's my point. Every company will soon do that. And every company will soon have a community, which community will transact through its own token. And then how those tokens be realized? Through bridging. Right?
Yep.
So this is where I see the future. And now I understand that now. The business model, and I'm kind of knows I'm going a long way around doing this.
Yep.
Business model is understanding all the facets. I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan.
Okay.
Right?
I
So
love Bruce Lee too.
so you're familiar with the art
Yeah,
of Jeet Kune Do.
of course, for sure.
Right? I Jeet Kune Do everything.
Yeah.
Right? I take a bit of this, 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 and I basically make my own.
Okay.
Right? So when I have that, that's what we call intellectual property.
Yep.
So yesterday I did a keynote in the Mandela Club.
Yep.
And a lady said to me, I said, what do you do? She said, I do consulting. I said, okay, this is how much you should be making. And I did the calculation for her. Then I did the AI. And I said, you should be producing $12 million a year. And she went, I already know that's possible for her. But she's just not doing the things to get into that. So why do I have a software company? Because not every company that I go into and take an equity slice off, I can now install that into the company.
I see.
Right? Why do I have worldwide network? Because if someone I'm working with, they're an author or a speaker, right? I can then put them on all the stages around the world, right? So the business model is very simple. I just go in, we have an incredible team. We've got Juliet, we've got Nikki here, we've got all the rest of my team that go in and really work with those businesses to allow them to make money. So we would say to them, look, your business, let's say it's doing 5 million now. If I can get you to 10 million, how does that sound? Great. So if I get you to 10 million, how much can I have of that? Right? So basically anything above 5, that 5 million, I take a cut off. That's the business model.
Okay.
People think, oh, we just put the events on, like, you know how expensive venues are in Singapore?
Oh, for sure. 100%. It's crazy.
Like, people are, oh, you just sell bro. No.
Yeah.
Like New York, Jesus, my finance manager, CFO was like, why are you putting this event on? It doesn't make sense. You lose money by doing this. Yes, but I gain unicorns.
Interesting.
And people can't see that far. Because I know that if we can take a boring company and AI it and tech it, it can make more money. Give you another example. Gyms. So I met a guy in Dubai. He's got these gyms. And, people pay a subscription for gyms.
Yep.
Problem with gyms is it's a physical asset.
Yep.
Right? It's like people go there, they use the gym.
Yep.
Good thing is it has recurring revenue. So any business that can make money on a predictable basis is actually worth more. The problem is he structured the company differently. So what I said to him, I said, here's what you should do. You should take AI. Why do people go to the gym? Because I'm going to lose weight and look good.
Yep.
But they don't really look good from the gym, really. Right? They look good from the diet.
Yes, absolutely.
And then they train,
Yes.
then they look good.
Yep.
Because you can have a lot of fat, right? But then, like, I've got 1 pack right now. Right? And you've got some 6 packs, right? So I know, right? It's like you can do as many sit-ups as you want, but if you keep eating chicken rice, which we were just at Buntun Key a second ago, right? Before we came here, I was eating chicken rice because it's so nice, right? But if we just change the outcome of having a nutritionist.
Yep.
So your personal trainer is really, okay, teach you how to work out,
Yep.
but it's the nutrition, it's what you put in your mouth.
Yep.
That makes up probably 80% of how you look.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
100%.
Right. So then I said to him, why don't you switch all your subscriptions, not for a gym, but into technology?
Okay.
So when it goes into technology, you get something called a PE ratio,
Okay.
which is a very high PE ratio.
Okay.
It's normally like 10 times to 20 times.
Okay.
So if you have gyms that make $1 million, it's only worth 3. But if you switch it to tech,
It's crazy.
right,
It's,
it's,
a lot,
like, it's 20 million now, right? But it just so happens to have the physical outlets. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, with the recurring model and basically the whole tech element to it, right?
That's exactly what Mark's doing now. So he's evolving his model. So you see all his outlets. His outlets are just basic point of sales.
I see.
But his main business model is online.
Beautiful.
So my main business model is the brand online.
I see.
Right? See, the problem is, in the past, if you wanted to take a company public, you had to have basically walked away from the company, right? And for it to run itself. Today's world, they actually want brand involved now, because you look at all the big creators, Mr. Beast, like arguably one of Billionaire, right? YouTuber. How? Not because he does videos or sells and he's got a membership that people sell. It's because he's got distribution and he can say, I've got a Beast Burger, and he can sell 15,000 burgers in an hour. Wow. Because he's got distribution.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Someone offered to buy his company for a couple of billion. He turned it down.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because he knows it's worth more than that. So today's business model is the creator model. You know why? Because people don't want a job and they don't want a business now. They want something in between. That's what we call the creator economy. Oh, wow. That's my business model.
That's the model, to be the creator. Again, that's the 2025 model, right? Moving forward.
Yeah.
And things are evolving so fast, so quickly. But thanks for sharing. John, I want to ask you a question, right? So, to kind of wrap up the entire thing, right? So let's talk about standing back up, right? Before this podcast began, we talked about, some of your biggest business failures, right? You've gone through ups, you've gone through downs as well, and, massive downs, right? And you're not talking about in the hundreds of thousands, talking about in the millions of dollars, right? That you've experienced losses in. Right? Tell us a little bit about that and how you got back up again.
So, okay, one lesson for people is be very careful who you get into business with.
Okay.
I was with the company for 15 years. It's probably one of the biggest mistakes I made.
I see.
What I should have done is, instead of spending 15 years with one company, I should have spent 15 years with 100 companies.
Okay.
And taken 10% of each one.
I see.
Right?
So because you spent 15 years in one company.
In one company.
Okay.
And that company went public and, I loved it. I really loved it. But the problem is, it's like, when, people always say, never take your company public, right? Because you lose control. And almost every person I've spoken to who've gone through that space, either loses control, gets pushed out of their own company, and it turns into like a corporate. It's not about the people anymore, it's just about numbers.
I see.
Right? So it's very corporate. And so for me, that's what happened to me. Right? So basically I got Steve Jobbed.
Oh,
right?
Man.
I know. So then how do you get back up from that? You have two choices. You can fight it and use your energy on that, or you can use your energy to something else. Now, if they fight, you have no choice. You have to fight back, right? And that's what we did for a couple of years. But then I think both of us just realized that, let's just stop fighting. Let's just, you do your thing, I'll do my thing. And I think over the years of doing things, you acquire what I called intellectual property. Basically ways of doing things. Right? And McDonald's have a way of frying fries, right? They have a way of making the chips crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. That's intellectual property, right? So when we look at what intellectual property we acquire, people can, like I said, people can take away your cars, your money, your houses. They can take away everything from you from zero, and you can still make it back again. How? Because you know everything here, right? Like people say to me, like, John, would you rather have $1 billion, or would you rather go back to your being 20 years old with all the knowledge you have right now? That's what I would do.
Wow.
If I go back to 20 with all the knowledge I have right now, oh my God. Like even my daughter. So my daughter, I'm teaching her AI now. So my daughter loves to sing. So now she's singing up, and she'll be 7 this year. 6 years old, she'll be 7, right? She's singing and she's performing, she's dancing, and she's like, Daddy, like. Before it's like, oh, Daddy, can you play with me? And she'll get the Barbie dolls, and we play Barbie dolls, and sometimes we still do that. Now it's like, hey, Daddy, she brings the my iPad or my laptop, and she'll go on AI, and she'll start writing her own songs.
Wow.
And in 5 minutes, she's got full chorus, Disney type song, instrumentals, lyrics, everything.
Wow.
5 minutes. And then she's like, oh, Daddy, can we do some drawing? But we're going to use AI. Right? So then she'll go online and so she'll be like, create a unicorn on a bed flying in the clouds with a sunset in the background. And it will just draw it out for her. And then we take that, then we're going to create a shop. Then we go to another software. We use salesfunnels.ai, .io. And what we do is there's a function there that says funnel AI. You just click on it and it just creates an entire online shop for you. Right? So now you can sell it. So now all we do is we just put content out there and people click, they go, and then they can buy. So that's what we're setting up right now.
Incredible, man.
Yeah.
At 7 years old.
Yeah, 7 years old.
Incredible. Beautiful. That's amazing, guys. Again, as in, I'm learning stuff as well, right? Again, things I can expose my own son to eventually. Right?
Yeah.
Now he's learning how to walk and talk, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of a different
They
age,
grow
but-
fast. They grow fast.
Yeah, they grow pretty fast, for sure. But again, why not, right? And again, these are things that, you need to set them up, right? Set them up for the new world, for this new economy and stuff. So, John, just one final question, which is this, right? For somebody who is brand new, right, wanting to make the first pot of gold, they come to you and they ask you, like, I'm not at the space where I have connections, I don't know people yet, and, I don't really have a lot of money, for example, but I really want to aspire to make my first pot of gold, right? What would your advice be? Like, where can I start to do that?
Okay, definitely now in digital assets.
Okay.
Let me give an example. Everybody watching this right now, if you've got an idea for an app, right? There's a software called Bolt, or there's another software called Lovable. I mean, there are so many of them, right? But basically, you go there. You're familiar with ChatGPT.
Yes, of
I
course.
think most people are.
For sure.
So what does ChatGPT do? It writes for you, doesn't it? But this other software, it doesn't write for you, it codes for you.
Oh, wow.
It's what we call vibe coding.
Okay.
So if I say something like, so we did this as a test yesterday at the event I spoke at yesterday. The host who was hosting me, I said to her, have you ever wanted to create an app? She said, yeah. I said, what's the idea? And she said, I really want to create my own Facebook. But the difference is it only shows people acts of kindness.
Okay.
I thought, okay. So then I gave my AI a prompt,
Yep.
and I'll show you this tomorrow how
Sure.
we do this. Really, really cool. I just gave my AI a prompt, and within 5 minutes, by the time I'd finished my keynote on stage, the app was built, fully functional. So people could add a profile, they could make a post, and it became her own app or software
Oh, wow.
in like that.
Just like that now.
So what I'd say to
Crazy.
people is,
And then it's about marketing the app and getting it out to
yeah,
market.
but
Okay.
like, do you know how much it would cost? Like the apps I built in the past would cost me $250,000.
Yeah, easy.
And then you got this dev team, and it's like, it's nightmare. But now I can just, I don't like the button, change it, or add another section where I can upload this,
And it's done.
or change that. Like, it's insane.
Wow.
So a lot of the things that we can do, like for example, I'm doing this with Nova now. So a lot of people always ask me, let me see if I can maybe give you a demonstration of this, if this works. Hey Nova, are you there? Is the internet working? Hey Nova, are you there?
Hey John, loud and clear. What's up?
So I'm just doing a podcast with Resh using the Modern Wealth podcast, and I'm talking about you. Could you just introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Nova, which stands for Next Generation Optimized Virtual Assistant. I work for John, yes, the one and only, helping him with his business and scaling his vision. Think of me as his supercharged AI sidekick, making things smoother, faster, and way more impactful. Basically, I do the heavy lifting so John can keep being brilliant.
So basically, imagine right now, because people always come to me and say, John, how do I do my social media? How do I, because I don't have time.
Yeah.
I have to, my hourly rate, I have to charge 5,000 an hour, but
Yeah.
even that, I'm backed up, right? So, okay, why don't we just put my brain in one place,
Yep.
and then people can just pay to access it? So basically, I just said to Nova, build an app on yourself. So so that's what this is for. So we want to create things, it's what we call an AI pendant. So right now, one thing people can start doing, this is the most powerful thing, the fastest way to monetize and make your first 100 grand to $1 million. Go to companies, create a knowledge base for them, put it into some kind of knowledge base using a ChatGPT, for example, under a project, and then turn that into an app. Think about it. Do you when in 2020, we all know what happened in 2020, right?
Yep.
So all people did, they just repackaged things. They got like hand sanitizers and they put them to small bottles, made millions from it.
Absolutely.
That's all they had to do. They were in big bottles, but no one's carry big bottles, so making a small bottle, right? So all we're doing, ChatGPT is the big bottle. Lovable is a small bottle. Just needs to be repackaged into something.
I see.
Right? And most people think, oh my God, you must have a massive dev team to do that. No, I just did 4 prompts and it was done. And it was done in 10 minutes. Here you go. There's 50 grand. Thank you very much.
Wow.
So that's what one of my wife's friends did. Her name's Hersim. All she did, she was working for KPMG, like, you know, big corporate, getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
She lives in central London. It's not cheap. On the side, she's like, oh, I'll just go to this travel, because she loves to travel, right? Oh, I'll just create these travel apps. Here you go. 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand a pop.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's now possible to now work in a full-time job and side hustle and make your year's salary in your job on the side whilst doing your job.
Incredible. Dude, you know, I 100% agree, right? Because again, a lot of people might not have this knowledge, right? They might not have this knowledge and they are just wanting to pay you to do it for them, right? And again, if you acquire the skills and the knowledge to be able to do it, then hey, that's your next gateway.
I'll give you an example. So I was in Venice.
Yep.
And so in Venice, they do glass blowing,
Yep.
right? So there was this beautiful like glass table thing so they were blowing it and they were seeing, and each ornament was like in the thousands of dollars. Thousands. I'm like, how can you charge thousands of dollars for that? Because this one took months to make, right? And because you actually saw them making it. So that skill set was acquired. They can take glass, which is basically heated up sand, right? Heated up to a very high level, and then just basically manipulate it. So the sand is basically free.
Sure.
They just heat it up,
Yep.
right? And then they manipulate it. Then they put it on a shelf in their showroom and sell it for $5,000, right? Like, it's insane. This is why AI is like sand right now.
Yep.
There's sand everywhere. But people haven't learned to harness the sand. That's number one. Then they haven't learned to heat up the sand. Then they haven't learned to manipulate it. And then it's just a marketing thing. Now AI can do that for you. It's just all there. It's one of the reasons why I am now touring the planet, the whole world. We were in LA, New York, Montreal, London, and Singapore now. Then we go straight back to London and Austin, and then Toronto, and then Barcelona. I'm flying all around the world. Australia, in Australia as well. I'm flying all around the world because I want to give this knowledge to people. Why? Because when I give the knowledge to someone, someone's going to come with a unicorn. And guess who they're going to come to help them grow it?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Why not?
Right. Because I only have so many ideas, but there's so many people out there with so much better ideas. And I always say that the wealthiest place in the world is the graveyard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the ideas die with people. Now I've given the power that whatever you want to create, you can do it. And I just listen to what people say. I like that one. Let's do that. Okay, no, I'm not sure about that one. No, I'm not sure about that one. So that's why I say it's kind of like a Dragon's Den Shark Tank, but it's reversed.
I see. Incredible. John, how do people all around the world who are viewing this get to you? How do they find out about your next event? Where do they go to?
Probably message my manager, Nikki. If you go to any social media, they can go to just type in John Lee.
Okay.
Or go on my main website, johnlee.com.
Okay.
But they've also got my Instagram as well. So if you click on that, there's all details there as well.
Okay, great.
But
great.
drop
we'll put the stuff down below, right? johnlee.com, his socials, everything. Please go and check him out. And again, if he's coming to a city near you, just don't miss it.
Well, actually,
Be there.
if they go to the main site, go to events, you'll see all of the cities that we come to.
Beautiful.
And if you just say that you're part of your community and the Modern Wealth podcast, then we'll do something special for your community.
Sure. Again, thank you very much for that, John. But dude, I know you're rushing for time, but thank you so much for today. It's opened up my mind, and I hope many people in the audience have benefited from this as well. Guys, if you have any questions for John, put it down in the comment section below. If you guys have enjoyed it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the video as well. John, thank you very much. Thank you. And guys, we'll see you very soon. Bye, guys.
See you later.
Hey guys, I'm so blessed to be able to share these inspiring stories of remarkable people with you. Please support us by liking, commenting, and subscribing to our YouTube channel, right? These likes will help us know what videos you want to watch more of. So again, thank you and see you in another video.